25 of a 30 days of PM journey, where we talk about product management and things a product manager does as part of their job, and how they build and scale products from beginning, right? So the topic for our discussion today is around funnel and cohort analysis, and how you can use these metrics or ways and look at the data that you have received when when you have users within your platform, and understand where things are going right and wrong, and what you can do to improve your product from there on, right? So this is about that. So essentially we'll start with funnel analysis to begin with, right? So funnel analysis is a way for you to look at a sequence of events that have happened within your platform. The sequence of events can be tied to a goal, tied to a specific task, or toward a certain action you want the user to perform within your platform. And when the task or an action is actually completed within the platform, you can make the decision and count it as a step completed, right? Or the funnel actually, and the user actually going through the steps recommended from your process towards the eventual goal. So anyone that hits the eventual goal through the steps that you have defined, or through a different route, is actually regarded as a completed step, and you can mark them as like a successful user who has met the goal that you have set for you to achieve, right? The goal ideally in most cases when you're doing funnel analysis is towards conversion, right? So in example, if how you have, for example, users who are free users, or you have a freemium or a product led growth sort of model within your product, you want the users to actually start using the platform as a free user to begin with, and have some features that are not really available unless they convert to a paid users, right? So if you have a top of the funnel which is intended to be wide and capture a large number of audiences, that eventually as they go through the process you have some conversion rate, or you can convert a percentage of the users from your top of the funnel to eventually being paid users within your product, right? In this specific example. But ideally it helps to have like a broader top of the funnel approach, where you have multiple users targeted towards promotions of your product, and actually interacting with your product, and then going from there, right? So a simple top of the funnel would be using social media platforms, or using newsletters and websites talking about your product, where within the announcement or the message that has been sent through the platforms, you have like a CTA that users can redirect to into your platform, and that which can be essentially another step within the funnel that has been defined. The next step from there would be, after they have landed onto your website, actually going and using your product, or creating an account within your product. And once they have created an account, they go about exploring within the platform for a week or two, or for a defined period of time, and see the actual value within the product, and then convert into paid users, right? So this is how typically a funnel process looks like, where you have series of steps defined, and any user who reaches to the end goal is defined as a converted user, right? So in there can be multiple steps here involved. Not all users will obviously follow the same series of steps to get to the eventual goal or the task to be completed, but having the number of users available within your platform, right, and having these step by step processes, and understanding where the users actually came from, and how did they eventually convert into paid users, or eventually get to clearing out or executing the task within the platform, which can be towards a specific value that the product performs, or a specific usage of a feature that is available within the product and not within your competitor. So this sort of analytics on how these series of steps led to an eventual goal is understood through this funnel analysis approach, right? So a typical funnel, as we talked, so if you have 1,000 users that you have sent an email, out of the 1,000 you have 300 who have opened the email, and out of the 301, half of them clicked on the CTA button, where again out of the 150 users that clicked, 100 created an account, and eventually 20 users actually found value and converted into paid users. So having a broader top of the funnel, where for example out of the 1,000 you only could convert 20 users, if you probably had only like 500 or 100 users to begin with, the chances of eventually hitting the goals diminishes, right? Or the, I mean, the reasoning or the criteria for conversion becomes much more higher at stakes, right, when coming to that. So it's always helpful having a broader out top of the funnel, where you reach out to as many people as possible, and make the product known across all categories of users, such that you can, the conversion towards the end of the funnel, or eventually converting into customers, is has like a higher probability over already having like a low top of the funnel. Eventually reduces the steps they have to actually go through to eventually convert into paid users, right? So this is why we always, even in marketing and product terms, try to have like a broader top of the funnel, where the user and the market itself is big enough for us to actually address, which is essentially the concept of TAM, total addressable market. Out of that you carve up pieces into how much can you actually service and actually can obtain, right? So SAM, SOM, and TAM are essentially ways how you are also funnels in a way, right? Of out of the total, how much is addressable, out of the addressable, how much is obtainable. So this is also one way of looking at funnels. And when building products, it's helpful to have, you can, I mean, jump into a red ocean market or even a blue ocean market, but having a good top of or healthy top of the funnel helps you in converting the users into paid users or actual users of the platform. So with these approaches, with the funnel analysis, it helps you gain more understanding of converting these users and the steps they took to convert, right? So if you look at examples of how within for example tool like Pendo, which provides you to look at analytics and look at behavior of users through the funneled approach, they have the concept of where you can, for a specific page or specific feature that within Pendo that has been tagged, you can look at data in terms of two ways, right? You can look at the unique visitors that have followed or been through the funnel, or the total number of attempts by the users within your platform for a period of time. So these are two ways to look at funnel data among your users and the group of users for a period of time, where eventually you can define steps from A till A leads to B, leads to C, and eventually to D, which is your goal that you want most of your users to reach and achieve. But and a lot of the times not all users will take the same route. As I told, they might go to A, then to B, then to E, C, D, and eventually get to D, right? So whereas some users might not even get to the goal or the eventual step that you have defined, which is D, but they go through A, B, and the first three steps, but not really go to the eventual goal, but sidetrack into something else. So this gives you an understanding of how many actually did not reach or get to the goal that you have defined within the platform, and how you can then understand the behavior or patterns of these users and iterate and improve your product based on that, right? So this essentially is a great way to do funnel analysis and understand user behavior and the steps they perform to achieve a certain goal. Another example here, when it comes to Google Cloud and their platforms and how you can create these funnel charts, is look at, for example, out of the 100% of users that are on the product, 63% have added something to the cart. Out of the 63, 43 have purchased, I mean clicked and shown intent to purchase. Out of the 45%, 13% eventually did register to purchase your product, whereas 1% eventually did cancel or did not even uh, go through the process of actually ordering or successfully ordering the product, right? So this helps you understand that out of the 100% users, you have uh, users trickling down into the steps that you have defined, but even though you are losing 1% of your users, right, that cancel and don't go through or complete the process. So this gives you an indication of things that need to be improved towards the end of the project, and how you can eventually actually also gain these users. It might not always be possible in all scenarios. You will still always lose some fun users towards the end of your funnel, but it's a great practice to actually understand what led to their cancellation, right, or what led to their withdrawal in these scenarios, and then understand what can you do to improve that and grow from that, right? So this is how funnel sort of analytics gives you an indication of not just the growth numbers, but how these numbers eventually led to these conversions that you are looking into, right? So out of the 100 users, only 13 sort of registered to make a purchase, whereas 1% of every 1 out of 100 users did actually cancel even after going through the steps involved that have been defined. So this essentially is the main USP of your funnel analysis, where you get to understand the behavior and the steps they took for a certain action to be performed. So this is multiple platforms have their own ways. We've looked at Pendo. This is another example with Google Analytics and Google Cloud and their platform on how you can build these funnels and go from there, right? So the same thing when it comes to Google Analytics. You can go to the explore section and create a funnel report, visualize the changes and the steps performed by users for a specific funnel, and define a criteria whether the funnel is closed or open towards the end, and how you can segment your users, and for a specific segment of users create these funnel analysis reports, and get to the eventual goal and understand the behavior of users. Funnel analysis ideally are generally done to a smaller set of users and for a smaller period of time. Whereas the other topic that we're looking at today, which is around cohort analysis, is done for a longer period of time, and ideally is to understand, is divided into two types, right? You are how specific set of users, right? So in various platforms that are used by customers, a lot of the users are power users who, for example, use the advanced features within your product and platform, and and essentially make the most of it, right, and make the most out of the product and push the product to actually improve and solve for their advanced needs. Whereas other sort of users can be divided into acquisition cohorts, as to how do you acquire, or how you have acquired these, and where have they actually uh, come to your platform from, right? These can be through social media sites, through email campaigns, through AdWords, and other online and offline mechanisms of acquiring these users. And for each of these cohorts of users, you can run cohort analysis and understand their behavior over, for example, a 6 month horizon or even a year sort of horizon, and understand how their retention and activity within the platform is over a period of time, and how you are seeing drop offs from 1 month to the next and towards the end. So this is another way of looking at analysis, and cohort analysis is used in that, right? So in this, you define a set of users or group users based on a certain category or a certain criteria, and then look at analytics of them and the adoption of the platform through their lens and through their usage over a period of time. We'll look at this resource which talks about cohort analysis in detail, and how you can use this cohort analysis process to eventually understand from the numbers that are previewed, for example, from here we're taking the number of downloads over several months, and understanding for a specific month, if we had the highest number of downloads for our application, what actually was the performance of these users within the platform over a period of time. So let's look at that and understand how cohort analysis generally are done.
Welcome. My name is Baron Flieger. I'm the VP of Marketing and Localytics. Thank you for joining us for another Whiteboard Wednesday session. Our topic for today is cohort analysis. What I'd like to cover is, what is cohort analysis? I want to talk about how cohort analysis can help you to track how well you're doing as a business. And I want to contrast that with some of the traditional metrics that you may already be using today. So what is a cohort analysis? Let's look at that definition. A cohort is a set of users who share a characteristic over time. An example of that might be, if you're in the app space, all the people who downloaded your app in a given month. So your January cohort are all the people who downloaded your app in January. Your February cohort would be all the people who downloaded your app in February, and so on and so on. Why is cohort analysis important? It can actually help you to track engagement or retention over time, as a contrast to looking at more of the traditional growth metrics that you may be looking at already. So let's take a look at some of those more traditional numbers or ways of measuring, in this case, growth of downloads. So these are traditional growth metrics. In this case, we have January with 27,000 downloads, and we were looking at actually driving those downloads up. So we ran a huge campaign, we invested money, we spent money to drive up that engagement or to drive up those numbers overall. So we can see here that in February, based on the investment we made for our marketing campaign, we were able to drive that number up to 45,000. Then in March, we didn't make any additional investments, so the numbers kind of went back down a little bit, but they're still higher than our January numbers, and we can see some nice continued growth in our overall numbers. So that's, at first glance, you would think that fantastic, based on investment we made, we were able to obtain huge growth numbers, so shouldn't we be investing more money and doing similar campaigns to the one that we did? Now, if we contrast that with a cohort analysis, we may be able to garner additional insight that we can't see from a growth analysis. So in this case, what we're looking at here is, let's take a look at January. Of 100% of the people who joined us in January that downloaded our app, how many are still with us, are still using the app actively after 1 month, after 2 months, after 3 months, and so on. So we can see here in January, 62% were still engaged a month later. Now, where we saw the huge spike in February, let's take a look at those people who specifically signed up in February, and we can see a huge drop-off. Only 41% were still with us a month later, and that number drops off pretty dramatically. So what does that tell us? A good indication could be that maybe we focused our money and our spend on the wrong people, and we didn't get the right people that we are looking for that would stay with us and that are going to be valuable to us over time. It could also be an indicator that we spent more efforts on actually getting people into the app, but not so much on focusing on making sure that they actually continue to stay engaged. So as you can see clearly here, that a cohort analysis can give you very valuable insight into, are my marketing efforts that I'm conducting, are they working or not? Is my investment that I'm conducting actually effective or not? So with that, thank you very much for joining us for another session today, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thank you.
So yeah, I think this gives you a very good understanding of how things play out when doing these cohort sort of analysis, and you get to understanding what actually the growth numbers actually tie back to, right? So in this case, we looked at Feb being the highest number of downloads towards the application, but when you dig down further and dig deeper, you realize that in Feb, the performance of or the retention of users over a period of time is actually lower when you compare to the other months where you have not had the same number of downloads towards the application. So in Feb, you see out of the 100% of users that were onboarded, only 41% of them remain or use the platform after 1 month, and after like 4 months you see only 19%, whereas in January when you onboarded only half of the number of users, right, 27,000, 39% of them stayed, which gives you understanding as to either the marketing program is not targeting the right number of users as mentioned in the video, or you are probably just not retaining or making the product such that users retain over a longer period of time for the specific set of audience, and probably you need to add features or enhance the product to these sort of audiences, right? So it gives you understanding and steps and action items to take on from just the numbers that you see on the screen of the higher number of downloads, which makes you feel good. But when you look at dig down further, you understand and realize what actually is missing, right? So from these missing pieces, when you now plan for enhancements or new features within a product, you have uh, these metrics in mind that you want to improve and take action upon those, right, which eventually influences your decision making of what you eventually want to build for your product and what actually is good and not good over the long period of time. So this is how cohort analysis comes into play and helps understand. And similarly, when it comes to funnel analysis as well, right, in this case as well, we looked at how it brought both marketing and product teams together, funnel analysis also does that, where funnel analysis is a lot of the times within marketing you have this top of the funnel approaches, where you have multiple mechanisms at play at top of the funnel to make your top as wide as possible, so that you have a larger pool of users that you can then segment down further and eventually trickle down and convert them into, right? So these are concepts that are synonymous in both product and marketing teams, and through these approaches you can help bring both these teams together and make more both of these teams focus towards the same goal and achieve that. So this is the advantage of using analytics and analyzing your data in from the lens of cohorts and from the lens of analysis and steps to understand user behavior, look at interaction, and look at trends over a period of time. So that's essentially it when it comes to cohort and funnel analysis, and how, for example, platforms like Calm used and tested their features to drive adoption of features and drive growth and retention within the product. So that's about it. We'll look at another topic tomorrow and talk about other frameworks and other tech methodologies that are part of the product management process and what product managers do to build products that scale, right? So analytics is a core piece of the puzzle when building and scaling products, where eventually just having and building features based on user requests doesn't really do the job. And even planning for roadmap items, you need to understand what needs to be taken into consideration and built for your users to take action upon, right? So that's about it. We'll see another topic tomorrow, but till then, thank you. All the resources will be linked in the YouTube description, and you can ask for any questions within the YouTube video. But yeah, thanks for joining. See you tomorrow. Bye.